in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org.
Monday to Sunday.
It's hard to explain, okay? But
all day, all year round.
it's so mysterious.
This is who we are.
This is who we are. WADR.
WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar. Good evening and welcome to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and across the world at wadr.org. Coming up in the news, Benin announces the presence of hundreds of Nigerian and Ivorian troops in the aftermath of Sunday's field coup. Côte d'Ivoire's main opposition PPACI party clarifies on Gbagbo's petition to the ICC over the 2011 election crisis. Senegal suspends extradition agreement with France over failure to respond to Dakar's requests.
Between 2024 and 2025, Senegal received 19 extradition requests from France. Out of these, 3 individuals were extradited.
And a U.S.-Ghana joint patrol team arrests a 31-year-old Ghanaian for an alleged $8 million romance scam. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining this edition of Newslink that begins with a focus on Benin, nearly a week since the failed coup by a group of soldiers from the Special Forces Unit. On Friday, Benin's Minister of Foreign Affairs Olusegun Bakari revealed that hundreds of Nigerian and Ivorian troops are currently in the country. Their mission is to carry out security operations alongside Beninese defense and security forces in the aftermath of Sunday's event, as the country also readies for a crucial election in April 2026. Sankule Janko reports.
The information was disclosed by Benin's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Olusegun Bakari confirmed that roughly 200 Nigerian and Ivorian soldiers are currently deployed in Benin as part of a security support mission. Their presence is meant to reinforce the government, with troops assisting Beninese defense and security forces in an ongoing nationwide sweep and clearance operation. This development follows the failed coup attempt last Sunday, when members of Benin's special forces appeared on national television on the morning of December 7 to announce that they had removed President Patrice Talon from office. The mutineers also announced the leader of the purchased under the Committee for Military Foundation, CMR, Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigre, whose whereabouts are unknown. The attempted takeover was ultimately thwarted by loyalist forces. The Beninese Minister of Foreign Affairs stressed, however, that the situation required cautious handling to prevent unnecessary civilian casualties. As a reminder, Patrice Talon is due to leave power in April 2026 after a decade in office.
Sankule Janko with that report. Meanwhile, the Beninese government has issued an international arrest warrant against Pan-African activist Kemi Saba. In the warrant by the judiciary, Saba has been prosecuted for advocating crimes against state security, incitement to violence, and incitement to rebellion. These charges follow a video in which he referred to the perpetrators of the December 7 coup attempt as patriotic soldiers. In Côte d'Ivoire, the main opposition PPACI party has clarified Laurent Gbagbo's petitioning of the International Criminal Court. In a recent open letter, the former Ivorian president petitioned the ICC to, and I quote, bring the truth to light about the Ivorian crisis from 1999 through Alassane Ouattara's fourth term. Speaking to the press on Thursday, the opposition party revisited the 2011 post-election crisis and defended its leader, Laurent Gbagbo. The press conference was led by Katinan Kone, president of the PPACI's Strategic and Political Council.
Supported by President Abu Mbeki, he made two decisions, and I quote, to allow Alassane Ouattara to run as a candidate in the next presidential election and to begin direct dialogue with the rebel leader, Guillaume Soro, to end the war. Letter to the nation by President Laurent Gbagbo, December 8, 2025. Unfortunately, despite all these sacrifices he made, the only obligation placed on the rebels was their disarmament. Instead of helping him obtain his disarmament, pressure was put on President Laurent Gbagbo to organize elections under those conditions. He held an election without disarmament, and we know what followed. Elections had to be organized, and then came the electoral dispute, which was supposed to be resolved through internal mechanisms. The dispute was brought before the Constitutional Council, which ruled in favor of President Laurent Gbagbo. And I quote President Laurent Gbagbo again. While the debate seemed settled, Alassane Ouattara, his friend Nicolas Sarkozy, the French president and the UN representative challenged the results announced by the Constitutional Council and decided that Alassane Ouattara was the real winner. Despite this call for a recount to resolve the dispute, what he received instead was war. The 2011 post-electoral crisis and its many consequences. According to the Bani report, there were 3,248 deaths, 1,069 deaths attributed to Gbagbo's camp, and 727 deaths to the opposition side. To this day, no judicial investigation has been conducted to establish in an indisputable manner the list of those who were killed and to determine responsibilities.
Irréfutable, la liste des personnes qui ont été tuées et situer les responsabilités.
Katinan Kone, president of the PPACI's Strategic and Political Council. Crossing over to the Gambia, the High Court has denied bail to former jungle operative Sana Manjan. The ruling came during Manjan's first appearance before the High Court following his arrest last month, ending 8 years of pursuit. Manjan faces 3 murder charges linked to some of the most notorious killings, including those of veteran journalist Daida Haidara, Gambian-American activist Alhaji Sisi, and several West African migrants. The atrocities were committed during Yahya Jammeh's era. WADR Sandona Mendy reports.
These charges, previously classified by the Magistrate Court as capital offences, placed Manjan's case at the center of the Gambia's transitional justice process. The case was transferred from the Magistrate Court, which had initially remanded him under the Criminal Procedure Act pending High Court arraignment. The High Court received the case file on December 4, 2025, with the hearing held within 7 days as expected under the 2022 Practice Direction for criminal cases transferred from lower courts. While the state has not yet filed a formal bill of indictment, the court ruled that Sana Manjang's detention is lawful and consistent with established procedures, thus denying him bail. However, the state has been ordered to file a formal bill of indictment by January 12, 2026, and Manjang is scheduled to enter his plea on January 15, 2026. Ahead of the arraignment, the court has granted his lawyer full access to prepare his defense. Sana Manjang's case is expected to serve as a key test of the country's commitment to addressing past human rights abuses. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we stream live at wadr.org. Here in Senegal, authorities have announced the suspension of extraditions to France. This is a reciprocal measure aimed at denouncing France's refusal to return 2 Senegalese nationals requested by Dakar. The decision comes even though an extradition agreement between the 2 countries is in force. Francis Boniface completes the story.
The suspension of extradition to France by the Senegalese authorities was announced by the Minister of Justice. Addressing lawmakers at the National Assembly, Yassine Fall stated that Senegal had requested the return of 2 of its nationals from France, request that Paris has not yet honored.
Nous avons reçu de la France 2024-2025. Between 2024 and 2025, Senegal received 19 extradition requests from France. Out of these, 3 individuals were extradited, while 4 were refused extradition. 10 others remain unextradited, primarily because 2 Senegalese nationals are still in France, and France has yet to return them. Senegal continues to press for the extradition. As a result, Senegal has decided to suspend all extraditions to France until it receives a response to these requests.
Among the individuals sought by Dakar is Majambal Jan. The journalist and businessman is subject to an international arrest warrant after being mentioned in a report by the National Financial Intelligence Processing Unit, CENTIF, in connection with an alleged case of embezzlement of public funds and money laundering. Senegalese businessman Doro Gay is also under judicial scrutiny, cited in a case involving real estate fraud. For context, Dakar and Paris signed an extradition agreement on September 7, 2021 in France. The agreement provides a legal framework for bilateral judicial cooperation in criminal matters.
A report by Francis Boniface. Away from Senegal, the Nigerian Senate is pushing back on the withdrawal of police protection officers assigned to lawmakers, warning that the move puts them at risk amid rising insecurity across the country. They are seeking special exemptions, even as President Bola Tinubu maintains that police personnel must be redeployed to frontline security duties. On November 23, the President ordered the redeployment of police officers assigned to VIPs to bolster internal security operations nationwide. From Abuja, Usman Umar reports.
Nigeria's escalating security crisis continues to strain state resources, prompting the federal government to redeploy police personnel from VIP protection back to frontline duties. However, on Thursday, federal lawmakers objected to the withdrawal, warning that the move leaves them exposed amid rising banditry, kidnapping and targeted attacks against high-profile personalities. The pushback was triggered by a point of order from Senator Abdul Ningi of Bauchi Central, who said his only police orderly has been withdrawn.
Like I said earlier, Mr. President, I have no problem, but let it be done across the board. I can take care of myself, but let me not see governors, ministers, and business concerns being covered by security establishment.
Outside the National Assembly, reactions are sharply mixed. Many Nigerians doubt the directive will be fully implemented, viewing it as yet another government statement without real consequences.
Well, let's forget about this, our normal celebrities on a low key. You have to start with your son first, because he also go around with escorts.
You can imagine that one man go carry like 20 police just because one move from here to here. 20 police. Some say they carry soldier army.
The Senate Committee on Police Affairs will investigate what members describe as the brazen disregard of President Bola Tinubu's November 23 directive by some VIPs and report back within 4 weeks. Whether or not the Senate secures special exemptions, pressure continues to mount for the redeployment of security resources to frontline operations. Currently, around 11,000 police officers are assigned as escorts to politicians, business figures, and celebrities. Manpower, the presidency insists, is urgently needed to reinforce overstretched security units. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
And just before the break, let's take you to Ghana, where a 31-year-old Ghanaian has been arrested in Accra after U.S. authorities linked him to an $8 million romance scam that targeted elderly Americans. The suspect, Frederick Kumi, also known as Emmanuel Kojo Ba Obeng, or Abu Trika, was picked up on Thursday, December 11, following a joint Ghana-U.S. operation that uncovered an AI-powered fraud ring responsible for defrauding victims. Nadia Tate in Accra tells us more.
According to a newly unsealed federal indictment, the 31-year-old Frederick Kumi, also known as Emmanuel Kojo Ba Obeng or Abu Trika from Swedro, is accused of playing a key role in a criminal network that used artificial intelligence to run sophisticated romance scams across the United States. Prosecutors say the group targeted elderly victims, building fake online relationships and persuading them to send money under false pretense. The indictment states that the scammers used AI-generated identities and frequent, intimate communication to gain victims' trust. Once convinced, victims were asked for funds to cover supposed emergencies, travel needs, or investment opportunities. The money was then routed through co-conspirators in Ohio and distributed to associates in Ghana and beyond. U.S. authorities say Abutrika helped coordinate the movement of these funds. He now faces charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, and a forfeiture specification with a possible sentence of up to 20 years in prison if convicted. However, prosecutors emphasize that an indictment is only an allegation and the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. The arrest was made possible through cooperation between the FBI, Ghana's Attorney General's Office, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, the Ghana Police Service, Cybersecurity Authority, NACOG, the National Intelligence Bureau, and U.S. federal agencies including Homeland Security Investigations and the DEA Sensitive Investigation Unit. The case forms part of the Elder Justice Initiative program created under the U.S. Elder Abuse Prevention and Prosecution Act of 2017. For WDR, Nadidi Teti, Accra.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. We are live online on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Benin announces the presence of hundreds of Nigerian and Ivorian troops in the aftermath of Sunday's failed coup attempt. Côte d'Ivoire's main opposition PPECI party clarifies on Gbagbo's petition to the ICC over the 2011 post-election crisis. Senegal suspends a traditional agreement with France over failure to respond to Dakar's request. We also told you that a U.S.-Ghana joint patrol team arrested a 31-year-old Ghanaian for an alleged $8 million romance scam. Ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and the sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. In Guinea, the Education Union has suspended the strike that has crippled the country's school system since December 1, 2025. The government has swiftly resumed negotiations with union leaders in a bid to resolve the crisis, which has already resulted in 2 deaths and several injuries. Emoradet has more in the following report.
After several days of industrial action by Guinean teachers, a movement that brought schools across the country to a standstill, the education unions have announced the suspension of their strike. The decision follows reports of death, injuries, and property damage in several schools, according to union spokesperson Abubakar Dasko Kamara.
In view of the decision approved by the Assembly, the FSPSNE, Education Inter-Union, has decided to suspend the general strike that was launched on December 1, 2025 across the entire national territory. We take this opportunity to extend our deepest condolences to the bereaved family, and we wish the injured a speedy recovery.
Despite the suspension, divisions persist within the union over whether the strike should have taken place. Pape Balamu, Secretary General of the SNE, highlighted ongoing disagreements between his organization and the Free Union of Teachers and Researchers of Guinea, SLEG.
All 10 of us agreed to withdraw the strike notice. However, the 4 SLEG representatives refused, insisting that the notice could not be lifted. We maintained that the majority must prevail and called for a vote, but they claimed there was nothing to vote on. When we returned to the room, the lawyers' delegation, led by its senior member, urged the union to accept the government proposal. We firmly objected, saying this was not what had been agreed. At that point, it became clear to us that there was a serious lack of respect in the process.
Talks between the government and union representatives continued late into the night at the Ministry of Public Service. So far, no agreement has been reached. The teachers' strike is one of many social issues confronting professionals and citizens as the December 28 presidential elections approach.
A report by WADR's Conakry correspondent, General Alpha Ibrahim Balde, and voiced in our studios by Imoradet.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
The guest interview segment this evening focuses on Senegal-France relations as the diplomatic partnership continues to decline between the two countries. On Thursday, Senegalese authorities announced that they will be suspending the extradition agreement with France. This is a reciprocal measure aimed at denouncing France's refusal to return two Senegalese nationals requested by Dakar. The decision comes even though an extradition agreement between the two countries is in force. To unpack the diplomatic implications of this latest decision between Senegal and France, we are being joined by Professor Gorgui Jang, a geopolitical analyst who shares his perspective on the matter.
Well, I think this is a decision we expected from the government of Senegal after having received from the government of France new elements in order to justify the extradition of Mr. Diagne. And I believe that the government of Senegal believes that this is a diplomatic way of rejecting the request from Senegal. And this is the attitude the government has taken in order to say to the government of France that you have not accepted to extradite Mr. Diagne, and you're asking for more information, but we believe that the information we have given you is enough.
Now, from a governance perspective, what risks or benefits does Senegal face by refusing to extradite individuals to France until its own requests are honored?
Well, I think this is a unilateral decision, and I don't know whether international agreements work that way. I believe that they should have chosen another attitude. For example, accept to provide the documents requested by France if it is, demonstrated that enough documents have not been sent to France. But like that, unilaterally, breaking the agreement, I don't believe that this is internationally acceptable. And this is something I believe that can harm future relationship between Senegal and France, and even between Senegal and other countries, because other countries may believe that it is not, a reliable government. It's not a reliable government to deal with, to treat with.
What does this move tell us about the current state of Senegal and France relations?
Well, the relationships between Senegal and France haven't been good these last months, especially since the new government took over about 2 years ago. Senegal's government is talking about sovereignty, defending the interests of Senegal, and I believe that France believe that when Senegal says this, they are talking about France and not other countries, because so far it is France who has been accused of exploiting Senegal, of interfering with its interior affairs. So I believe that this is something that shows that the relationship between the two countries are not good because of the new attitude adopted by the new government, that is to say, laying emphasis on more sovereignty for Senegal vis-a-vis France.
Before I let you go, what mechanisms or diplomatic channels are available to both governments to resolve this impasse, and what might be the likely short to medium-term outcomes if neither side shifts its position?
Well, I don't believe that we can have any, agreement between the two countries, because what is most important here is the attitude of the new government of Senegal, laying the emphasis on sovereignty, which I believe do not suit the French government. So maybe the relationships will worsen. That is what I believe in. The relationship cannot really improve positively because of the interests that are at stake. That is to say, France wanting to defend its interests in Africa, in Senegal in particular, and Senegal wanting to defend its interests as a sovereign country. So I think that what is looming behind the curtains is not that good as far as the relationship between the two countries are concerned.
Professor Gorgui Jan is a geopolitical analyst. In the sporting world, the coach of Nigeria's Super Eagles, Eric Shell, has named a formidable 28-man squad for the 2025 Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, with star forwards Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman headlining a group stacked with attacking firepower. The Super Eagles, runners-up at the last AFCON, opened their Group C campaign on December 23 against Tanzania before facing Tunisia and Uganda as they aim to secure early qualification for the knockout rounds. With the two top progressing automatically and 4 of the 6 third-place teams also advancing, Nigeria enters the competition as one of the favorites to reach the latter stages. Shell's squad reflects Nigeria's remarkable depth in attack. 9 forwards have been selected, including reigning African stars Osimhen, who plays for Galatasaray, and Lookman, Atlanta. And that's it for the sports news. That's how we end this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Faliluso and Mustafa Sek for technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at WADR English. We also stream live at wadr.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a rebroadcast of our security program in English in the Sahel. I'm Abdullah Hassan. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Baga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.